Israel is a critical ally of ours, and I think most people understand the necessity of this funding. They're fighting for their very existence. They're the only stable democracy in the Middle East. I mean, of course, for those of us who are believers, it's a biblical admonition to stand with Israel. We will, and they will prevail as long as they're with them. And this is an important, very important symbolic gesture and a very important replenishment of their stockpiles, for example, of the Iron Dome. The reason they shot down all those drones and missiles in the last attack by Iran is because we assisted with that. I think the American people understand the importance of that.
Thank you. Okay. The House will be in order.
The concept of atomic war is too horrible for man to endure and to practice, and he must find some way out of it. That's all I think about this thing.
It is uncivilized on the part of all of us to be sitting here with the only deterrent to war, offensive nuclear weapons, that in such numbers that both of us could threaten the other with the death and the annihilation of millions and millions of each other's people.
Okay, so the American people have been sold out by Congress. Yet again, another massive package, another massive spending package from Congress has passed and is about to be signed by Joe Biden, where they're giving billions and billions of dollars of the Treasury. Not even the Treasury. They're going to print billions of dollars and just give it away. Give it away to people on the other side of the world. Give it away not to the American people who desperately need it, but give it away to contractors and lobbyists who they get donations from, and give it away to crooks and thieves in countries like Israel and countries like Ukraine. And I saw this coming a mile away. I talked about Mike Johnson the other day. This guy folded like a cheap tent. He's a very nice guy. Everybody says that about him. Oh, he's such a nice guy. He's a Christian. He's a church man. But here's the thing. He's a very weak leader. This man is weak as hell. $95 billion being printed to be given away to crooks and thieves, like I said. Nothing for border security. Nothing to help with the fentanyl crisis. Nothing to revamp the schools, that help the education and elementary school, high school levels. None of that. Just a full-blown giveaway. This guy folded. For months on end, he held out. And he talked about border security. The House actually passed H.R. 2, the Secure the Border Act, to actually enforce border laws in order to take power away from the president, to where the president can just make these executive orders, do whatever the hell he wants, and not enforce the border. They actually passed a law to take that type of power away, to where the president will have to be compelled. The Homeland Security Secretary will have to be compelled to secure the border. But the Senate Democrats didn't want to talk about that. Joe Biden didn't want to talk about that. All Mike Johnson had to do was hold out, because all the polls were on his side. The American people care strongly about illegal immigration. We got criminals coming in, drugs coming in, and these liberal cities are spending billions of dollars on illegal immigrants. And so they're finding out the hard way about how bad this problem is. Mike Johnson just had to hold firm for a few more months, because these Democrats were going to crack. Joe Biden sees the writing on the wall. It's hurting him in the polls. And on top of that, he has a big portion of the Democrat Party, these people who are protesting in support of Palestine, that's hurting him in the polls. So he and the Democrats would have eventually made some type of deal with Mike Johnson, where they could have actually got some type of border security. But no, Mike Johnson just sat there and gave away the farm. He gave away all of his leverage, talking about, oh, well, we're talking about the border security on another issue. No, you're not. When you and the Republicans in the House start talking about border security, the Democrats already got what they want. So guess what? They're going to ignore you. So, again, he's a weak leader. He went to the White House and had a meeting with that serpent, Anthony Blinken, that Secretary of State. And he came out feeling tough, feeling big and bad, thought he was important. He called himself a wartime Speaker of the House. Then he had articles like CNN and other left-wing outlets calling him the modern-day Churchill. So that, along with his ego plus that military and industrial complex donor money, was all it took. It was all it took to make this man fold and to just bend to the will of the Democrat Party and give away the farm to crooks and thieves. And of course, what was the catalyst of all of that? The catalyst was the Iran-Israel scuffle, because this man is a fierce supporter of Israel for religious reasons. So I showed at the beginning of this video about how he was talking about He's ordained by God. This is God's will that we support Israel. We need to pass this money because God wants to. So he's a Southern evangelical. He's from Louisiana. And this is what a lot of these Southern evangelicals think. And this is how I believe that they're getting suckered. But a lot of these people think based on certain types of passages in the Bible, because religion, American religion, is heavily influencing American foreign policies. They like to look at people in the Middle East as religious fanatics, but it's heavily influencing Congress. So a lot of people like Mike Johnson, they believe that we have to have an actual country named Israel in order for certain prophecies to come true, in order for Jesus to come back, in order for Armageddon and all of that. They believe that there will be a literal country named Israel with an actual temple. They want to rebuild the third temple in a spot where the Dome of the Rock is right now. This is a whole theological debate, but these guys are strongly supporting this nation that they created, the Zionists created decades ago. They're holding it up because they believe that it has a lot to do with their American Christian religion. And I disagree with that. A lot of other people have theological disagreements with that. I believe it's more symbolic when these passages are talking about Israel. I believe that the church is what's the real important thing, but they believe that they need to have this place called Israel. That's why he's talking about it's God's will that we support Israel. And that's why you have a lot of evangelicals in the South. You go to some of these churches, if you listen to what some of these leaders in these churches are saying, it's strong advocacy for Israel. Not because they want to be Jews, but because they believe that this state of Israel that the Americans and the British created, they believe that it has implications into Armageddon and the end of the world. But I don't know if they can sit here and try to force biblical prophecies to come true just because you force a state, you create a state and force it to exist, uphold it through military action. I don't know if that's going to make your prophecies come true. So if Armageddon is going to come, if Jesus is going to come back, I don't think you doing these actions is going to compel God to do anything. But that's all I have to say about the theological point of view. And I had to mention it because it is heavily involved in this big giveaway and American foreign policy and American leadership willing to spill American blood to protect Israel. A lot of this is heavily influenced by religion in the United States, and they don't want to talk about it, but that's what it is. And I'm pretty sure people who know more about this than me can break it down even better in even more detail. But let's look at this article here from Reuters. Let's get some insight into where some of this money went. Like I said, it was a $95 billion printing giveaway. Boy, the printing presses are working hard right now. These ink companies are making a lot of money off of printing all this money. Boy, these printers just never cease in America because America spends way more money than what it receives in taxes. So let's look at this part here. Billions of dollars in foreign aid for Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan should easily win approval in the United States Senate this week after the House of Representatives abruptly ended a months-long stalemate and approved the assistance in a rare Saturday session. Yeah, that's how quick it was. Israel gets into a scuffle. Mike Johnson was holding out for months, even though he had all these people in his ear, boosting his ego, offering him money, of course. But he's so concerned about Israel. He said, look, we're going to have a quick say. We're going to do this fast. We're going to pass a massive package. And we're not even going to read it. We're not going to talk to American people about it. We're not going to debate it. We're just going to come in on Saturday. I know we don't ever work on Saturday, but this is so important. We need to come in on Saturday. Don't read it. Don't debate it. Just pass it. And that's what happened. The Senate on Tuesday will take up the package of 4 bills passed by the House, one providing $61 billion for Ukraine. And we're going to break down these costs in a few minutes. A second with $26 billion for Israel, a third with $8.12 billion to counter communist China in the Indo-Pacific, and a fourth that includes a potential ban on social media app TikTok. They're still on this TikTok, this anti-TikTok thing. Measures for the transfer or seize Russian assets to Ukraine and new sanctions on Iran. If they do that to Russia, it's going to hurt them tremendously. They got $300 billion in seized assets. And this is why a lot of countries in the world, like the BRICS nations and all the dozens of countries who want to be part of BRICS, are tired of using the American dollar, because when they do their transactions in US dollars, they put a lot of their financial assets in US dollars. The United States all of a sudden uses the dollar to weaponize and sanction these companies, seize assets and stuff like that. So they are holding up $300 billion of Russian money, talking about they're going to give it to Ukraine. The package could pass the Democrat-led Senate as soon as late Tuesday. Democrat President Joe Biden has promised to sign it quickly into law. Yeah, everybody is benefiting from this except for the American people. Biden, the people around him, his inner circle, Zelensky, oh man, he's about to get rich. He's about to buy some more cocaine off of that. The people over there at Taiwan, all of these people getting paid, the military-industrial complex, like I said, everybody except the American people. How much money did he give to the Hawaiian people again? Was it like $700 per household or something like that they sent to the Hawaiians after their island mysteriously burned down? 2 U.S. officials told Reuters the administration was already preparing a $1 billion military aid package for Ukraine, the first to be sourced from the bill. That would clear the way for shipments of military assistance to Ukraine within days, boosting morale for its troops fighting Russian invaders. Nah, what this is going to do, what this whole giveaway is going to do is cause more Ukrainians to die. Just let this thing in. If they would have just let Ukraine surrender 2 years ago now, hundreds of thousands of Ukrainians who are dead right now would be alive. But they keep dragging this thing out. So Ukraine, Zelensky, they're going to send out the press gangs to force even more men to join this fight, send them to the front lines, and they're going to get killed. A tune of, 500,000 of them dead, and probably double that injured, maimed. We've seen videos of Ukrainians over there with lost limbs, eyes missing. It's just horrific over there. But they want to keep it going. They want to keep the money flowing. And the cost of that money is Ukrainian lives. I always hear these people talk about, well, it's helping the American industry. This money is going to American industry. So this is going to uphold jobs, which is a ridiculous thing to say. If your economy is relying on somebody across the world dying, if we have to print money, give it to Lockheed, Raytheon, General Dynamics to have American jobs at these businesses, but the cost of it is a bunch of Ukrainians dying, then there's a problem with our economic system. Is if that's what we're relying on. We need to spill other people's blood in order to maintain jobs. Completely ridiculous argument. But evil demons and serpents like Mitt Romney and Joe Biden, they don't see it that way. The influx of weapons should improve Kyiv's chances of averting a major Russian breakthrough in the east. Not going to happen. In fact, Ukraine has already been strategically defeated. It's only a matter of time. Like I said, they're prolonging this thing. It ain't just costing lives. Zelensky is a full-blown madman. You listen to this man talk, and he's delusional. He's living in la-la land. Completely delusional.
I think this support will really strengthen the armed forces of Ukraine. And we will have a chance for victory if Ukraine really gets the weapons system, which we need so much, which the thousands of soldiers need so much.
President Zelensky, can you give Americans a sense of the timeline? Will you still need as much aid this time next year? Or do you think you can turn the corner on Russia?
The decision to supply F-16 fighter jets to Ukraine, well, we've had it a year ago. 1 year ago, we got the positive response. Ukraine should receive these fighter jets so that not only air defense protects the sky, but we also have modern jets. A year has passed. We still don't have the jets in Ukraine. So it's very difficult to do any forecast. I would like us to be open and very, very specific. From the moment we get our hands on these weapon systems, well, from that moment, we can talk about the timeline.
Just give us a handful of F-16s, and just give us these ATACMS. It might cause a very short temporary disruption in certain Russian operations, but after that, it's going to be back to the norm with Ukraine being annihilated and the Russians taking their time. The Russians are not in a rush at all, actually. They haven't set deadlines like the United States always said, we're going to do this by this date, by this date. The Russians haven't set deadlines. They're moving very methodical, taking village by village, town by town, and just decimating Ukrainian line. I mean, it's crazy. That's why I think there's going to be some type of military coup on Zelensky, because this madman won't surrender and he won't save the lives of his men. For the sake of his own people, he needs to just surrender and let his people live. But he won't do it. Although it would have been more helpful if the aid had come closer to when Biden requested it last year. Yeah, so that's going to be that scapegoat. When the writing's on the wall and CNN, NBC, ABC, when they're forced to admit that these Ukrainians need to surrender, they're going to blame Mike Johnson. Well, you didn't get a $61 billion. If you had given $61 additional billion, then the Russians would have lost. Complete nonsense. But let's look at this part here to get a breakdown of some of this money. So this is the Ukrainian portion right here. This includes $23.2 billion to replenish U.S. weapon stocks and facilities and $11.3 billion for current U.S. military operations in the region. So 2/3 of this money is not even going to the Ukrainians. They're going to spend it on the military industrial complex. They're going to boost up their facilities. Of course, the people at the top are going to be getting bonuses. I bet these Christmas bonuses for the military and industrial complex are going to be fat, looking really nice this year. And the people working there, they may get a pay raise, but of course, it's mostly to the people in the Pentagon, the lobbyists, the people on Capitol Hill, and the people in charge of these businesses. That's where most of this money is going. And of course, Zelensky and his crew of thieves, they're going to buy a couple more mansions. His wife is going to go on another shopping spree. He's going to buy some more coke, as I said. And the American people are going to be asked out. The U.S. does not have troops in Ukraine, but the Pentagon has been training Ukrainian troops elsewhere in the region and continues to maintain readiness and a presence across the continent, including countries in Europe, such as Estonia. It also includes $13.8 billion for the purchase of advanced weapon systems, plus $26 million to continue oversight and accountability of aid provided to Ukraine. There's no oversight. We haven't gotten any reports. The Pentagon can't even do oversight on themselves because there's always missing money. There's always billions of dollars in the Pentagon just missing, gone. But they always call other countries corrupt. Nobody wants to look at what's going on in our own Pentagon or on Capitol Hill with all this money. They're just printing money and all these people getting rich, and we point the finger and say, yeah, other countries are corrupt and we don't have any issues like that. If approved, the funding would bring the total U.S. investment in the conflict to $170 billion. Imagine that money being spent on the American people. $170 billion. Remember, Trump asked for what, $4 or $5 billion to build a wall down there on the Mexican border, and these people act like he was asking for trillions. He said, give me $4 or $5 billion, I'm going to build a wall. There's too much money. But all of a sudden, you can print and send $170 billion to Ukraine. Insane, man. Israel, $26.38 billion to support Israel, reimburse military operations. Yeah, one of those major operations is them going against the Houthis, spending $1 million in missile. One little drone come, a little $1,000 drone, and they have to spend a $2 million missile to stop the drone. That's one problem with this industry. It seems like a lot of money, but the prices for everything is so bloated that you're not really getting much out of it. The fancy tech that these NATO nations have is extremely expensive, and it's not as effective as you would think. It's not some big time game changer because the ops are coming with much cheaper technology, and they're able to have some success. In fact, the Russians are beating the hell out of Ukraine with all of this fancy tech, with all of this money. Some $5.2 billion will go towards replenishing and expanding Israel's missile and rocket defense system. So this system already has cost hundreds of billions of U.S. taxpayer dollars, and they need to send more to it. Iran sent a bunch of cheap, slow-moving drones. After giving them 72 hours notice, they told the U.S. Israel days ahead of time. They sent a bunch of slow-moving drones to Israel, and Israel went into panic mode and spent over $1 billion to block a bunch of cheap drones. Plus, on top of that, they sent some cruise missiles and some hypersonic ballistic missiles. And these are the missiles that actually hit. They actually hit their target. They hit this military air base where they keep the F-35s. But they had moved the F-35s already because, like I said, the Iranians told them days ahead of time. Iran wasn't trying to really escalate the war. They were just trying to send a message to Israel that we can hit you. We can penetrate your 3-layer defense system, David Sling, the Iron Dome, and I forgot the other one. But the missiles that they wanted to penetrate, they penetrated and hit exactly where they wanted to hit them. They hit an Intel building, even though the press likes to say, oh, it was 99% going off of Israel's own numbers. Come on, man. So that's a full-blown propaganda number. And actually, I think it was the Jerusalem Post. It's somebody over there. They are saying the number was lower now. But that's a different video anyways. The point is, they're spending billions of dollars on this missile defense system. And one day, Israel spent $1 billion to block a bunch of cheap drones. Iran can launch more drones than that. They're going to spend another $1 billion. Then on top of that, the UK, Jordan, the U.S., they are also defending Israel that night, shooting down these slow-moving drones. They spent over $1 billion. So this money as a wash, it's not really doing anything. This defense system, this missile defense system is not going to hold up when Israel's op want to really hit them, they have the technology to penetrate these defense systems. But guess what? They're going to build up these defense systems anyway, because it's not about defending against Iran. It's about getting paid. Like I said, the American people getting screwed, but a bunch of corrupt thieves around the world are getting filthy rich. And of course, they're sending money over there to Taiwan, $8.12 billion. Some $3.3 billion will be allocated to developing submarine infrastructure. Plus $2 billion in foreign military financing. Yeah, you're just paying for military, just paying for everybody's stuff except for your own people. We need these people out of Congress immediately. So let's look at this piece right here. So this is something that Congress also did about a month ago, like thieves in the night. Because most people didn't know about this. I was meaning to do a video on this topic a few months ago. I never got around to it. But basically what was happening was U.S.'s partners, quote unquote allies in the Pacific, a bunch of little small islands, weak ass countries over there, close to China, that's their only importance, were extorting the U.S. They basically told the U.S., look, man, come up with some money. We need $20 billion. It's 3 countries. Let's look at the names of these countries real quick. They're so irrelevant. I think it was Marshall Islands, Palau. So yeah, Marshall Islands, the Federated States of Micronesia, and the Republic of Palau. Yep. So months ago, back in 2023, they told the U.S., look, we know that we're weak, but we're small islands. We're close to China. You want to set up your jets here. You want to set up ballistic missiles, long-range missiles here so you can hit China. So here's the deal. Front us $20 billion. And if you don't, we're going to switch sides and join China. So the White House was begging, and a lot of people weren't really paying a lot of attention to this. It floated under the radar. But the White House was begging Congress to just approve this money. Let's look at this short clip here from the Pentagon.
And finally, I want to take a moment to emphasize the critical national security importance of Congress passing our budget and the impacts for the compacts of free association. These are important agreements with our long-standing partners in the Pacific Islands region, the Federated States of Micronesia, Palau, and the Republic of the Marshall Islands. As part of the compacts, the U.S. military enjoys exclusive access to a critical part of the region that's actually larger than the continental United States. Our State Department colleagues have successfully negotiated a 20-year extension, and now we just need Congress to fund and enact it. And with that, I'd be happy.
So it's so vague the way she said it, but basically, Congress approved the money. I don't think they sent the whole $20 billion though, but they did send at least 10. So another way that the American people are being extorted. Everybody's getting paid off of this except for the American people. This stuff is full-blown corruption. Congress is nothing more than a den of thieves sitting here living in luxury housing, luxury cars, got their own staff, secretaries and all of that, drivers. Some of them got their own security details, all paid for by the American people. And when they run out of money that they suck dry from taxing the American people, they just go to the printers. And when they go to those printers and print $95 billion, it causes inflation, because every time they press the buttons on those printers, metaphorically, it causes inflation. It devalues the dollar. So you have more dollars circulating, which means each dollar is less valuable, and inflation comes. Prices are going to increase. Keep printing. We just learned a very hard lesson, even though we already knew it, with those stimmy packages. They printed all this money doing the stimmies, doing C-19, that manufacturer crisis. And we had massive inflation. Rent skyrocketed, food skyrocketed, the cost of goods, period, just skyrocketed. And they said, damn, we shouldn't have printed all that money. It caused mass inflation. But let's go print some more. Let's keep printing. They haven't stopped printing money. They just keep printing, and we just keep getting hit with inflation. But they're not worried about it because they're getting rich. And again, they're not worried about China. They can talk all this trash. They're not worried about Russia, because I keep saying it, they don't believe a nuclear holocaust is real. So they can talk trash. They can give Ukraine weapons to attack Russia. They can give them F-15 or whatever the hell else they want to send over there. They're thinking, well, the Russians won't do anything. France is over there trying to sneak troops over there into Ukraine, into Odessa, antagonizing and just begging for World War III. And here's the thing about countries like this. When you have an empire in decay, when something is collapsing, the people at the top are just trying to grab everything they can before the building collapses. Imagine like a building collapses, you grab the most valuable things, everybody runs out before it collapses. So these guys want to suck the United States dry, drain it dry. Hyperinflation is on the way, but they want to get everything they can before things completely collapse. So they're not worried about the American people not being able to afford rent, food, whatever else. As long as they're rich, they got their mansions, they got their bunkers and everything. And if a nuclear holocaust does hit us because of them fools, they're not worried about it. They don't give a damn about the American people. They keep showing us they don't care if you're eating, they don't care where you're sleeping, they don't care if you live or die. As long as they get paid, they get filthy rich off of suckering the American people. So let me know what you guys think about this. Leave me your thoughts below. Share the video. Thanks for watching.